Pain came first, then light, then voices speaking in words that shouldn't have made sense but somehow did. Iris opened her eyes to a ceiling that pulsed with soft blue patterns. The air tasted sterile and slightly metallic. Her body felt heavy, as if she'd been sleeping for years. Maybe she had been. She couldn't remember. A face appeared above her, scaled and green with large yellow eyes that blinked sideways. The creature wore something that looked like medical clothing, and it was holding a scanning device over her chest. "Subject is conscious," the creature said, its voice a low rumble. "Vital signs stabilizing. Dr. Worth, you should see this." Another figure approached. This one was taller, with deep blue scales and a more pronounced snout. It leaned over Iris with what might have been concern. "Can you understand me?" it asked. Iris tried to speak. Her throat was dry. "Yes," she managed. "Where am I?" "Threshold Station Medical Facility," the blue-scaled doctor replied. "I'm Dr. Olin Worth. You were found in a derelict vessel 3 days ago. No identification, no ship registration. You were in some kind of stasis pod. Can you tell me your name?" She thought about it. The answer came slowly, as if pulled from deep water. "Iris Cole." Dr. Worth made a note on a floating screen. "And where are you from, Iris Cole?" That question hit a wall in her mind. She searched for the answer and found only fragments. Blue skies, green fields, a yellow sun. Nothing concrete. Nothing real. "I don't know," she admitted. "I can't remember." The doctor's expression was unreadable, but his tone remained gentle. "That's not uncommon with long-term stasis. Your memories should return with time. For now, we need to run some scans. Standard procedure for unidentified passengers. Is that acceptable?" Iris nodded. She didn't have much choice. They moved her to a different room, this one filled with equipment that hummed and glowed. Dr. Worth explained each step as they went. Blood sample, tissue sample, full body scan. He kept talking, probably to keep her calm, explaining how Threshold Station was a hub for dozens of species, how the Great Archive contained genetic information for every known sentient being in the galaxy. "We'll have your species identified in minutes," he assured her. "Then we can contact your homeworld, let them know you're safe." Iris lay still in the scanning tube while light passed over her body in waves. Through the transparent walls, she could see Dr. Worth and his assistant watching screens filled with data. The scan finished. She waited. Dr. Worth frowned at his screen. He tapped it several times, then looked at his assistant. "Run it again," he said. They ran it again. Then a third time. The assistant's scales had gone pale. "Doctor, the system says—" "I can see what it says," Dr. Worth interrupted. He moved to a different console and began typing rapidly. "Access the deep archive. Authorization code Worth 77 Alpha." Iris sat up slowly. "What's wrong? What did you find?" Nobody answered. The main computer screen in the room suddenly went dark, then lit up with text scrolling too fast to read. Dr. Worth stepped back from the console as if it had burned him. The scrolling stopped. A single line appeared on every screen in the room. "No. Genetic match found in primary archive." Then another line. "Accessing historical records." Then another. "Accessing founder database." The lights in the medical bay flickered. Somewhere in the station, an alarm began to sound. Not an emergency alarm, but something older, deeper, something Iris suspected hadn't been heard in a very long time. The screens went blank again. For a moment, there was only silence. Then a voice came through the speakers. Not Dr. Worth's voice. Not any organic voice. This was the station's central AI, and it spoke with a tone of something like reverence. "Genetic markers confirmed. Origin species identified. Location." The AI paused as if it couldn't believe its own findings. "Earth. Found." The word hung in the air like a physical thing. Dr. Worth stared at Iris as if she'd just appeared out of empty space. His assistant had backed against the wall, eyes wide. Beyond the medical bay doors, Iris could hear shouting, running feet, more alarms. "That's not possible," Dr. Worth whispered. "Earth is a myth, a legend. It doesn't exist." But Iris was barely listening. The moment the AI had spoken that word, Earth, something had broken open in her mind. Not a full memory, but a feeling. A bone-deep certainty. She knew that word. She knew that place. Somewhere in the universe, there was a world with blue oceans and green continents and a single pale moon, and she had walked on its surface. The medical bay doors slammed open. Security personnel rushed in, followed by officials in formal robes. followed by more people than the room could reasonably hold. Everyone was talking at once, asking questions, demanding answers. Through the chaos, a woman pushed her way to the front. She was tall and strong-looking, with dark hair and eyes that missed nothing. She wore a security uniform with a commander's insignia. "Everyone out," she ordered. "This facility is now under lockdown. Dr. Worth, you and your patient are coming with me. The High Council has issued an emergency summons." She looked directly at Iris, and her expression was complicated. "They want to meet the woman from Earth, if that's really what you are." Iris met her gaze steadily. "I don't know what I am," she said, "but I'd like to find out." The commander nodded once. "My name is Risa Hale, and whether you know it or not, you just became the most important person in the galaxy." She gestured to her security team. "Escort them to the diplomatic wing. Full protection detail. Nobody talks to her without council clearance." As they led Iris from the medical bay, she caught a glimpse through a window of the station beyond. Ships were already gathering, their lights like distant stars. News was spreading. Somewhere in the corridors, she heard someone shouting about ancient prophecies, about the return of the founders at Earthfound, the AI had said. But Iris thought the real question wasn't whether Earth existed. It was why she had been floating in space alone in a stasis pod, with no memory of how she got there. It was what had happened to make Earth disappear in the first place. And it was whether anyone would like the answers once they started digging. She had a feeling this was only the beginning. The Great Archive wasn't what Iris expected. She'd imagined something like a library with books and data storage. Instead, she found herself in a massive spherical chamber that seemed to exist in impossible space. The walls, floor, and ceiling all curved away into a haze of light and data streams that flowed like rivers through the air itself. 5 massive crystalline structures floated in the center, rotating slowly. These were the archive keepers, the ancient AI consciousnesses that had maintained galactic knowledge for longer than most civilizations had existed. Iris stood on a platform that had grown from the floor like a plant, with Risa beside her and Dr. Worth hovering nervously behind them. Around the edges of the chamber, dozens of representatives from the collective's member worlds watched in silence. She recognized some species from the station. Others were completely alien to her. One of the crystals pulsed with inner light. A voice emerged, genderless and ageless. "Iris Cole, we have examined your genetic structure. We have reviewed the findings 17,000 times. The conclusion remains unchanged. You are human, unmodified, pure strain, from Earth." A murmur ran through the assembled observers. "I don't understand," Iris said. Her voice sounded small in the vast space. "Everyone keeps saying Earth like it's something impossible. But I'm here. I exist. How can my home world be a myth?" Another crystal spoke, this one with a slightly warmer tone. 50,000 years ago, a species emerged on a world they called Earth. They were the first to develop faster than light travel. They were the founders. They spread across the galaxy, establishing colonies on thousands of worlds. They were us. We are them. Every species in this chamber either descends from the founders or joined the civilization they built. A third crystal continued the story. Then, approximately 50,000 years ago, all contact with Earth ceased. Ships sent to the home world never returned. The coordinates were lost or corrupted. Within a generation, Earth's location had been completely erased from all records. Some said it destroyed itself in war. Others claimed a plague. Many believed it simply never existed at all, that the founders came from multiple worlds and the Earth story was propaganda to unite them. The first crystal pulsed again. Over millennia, the founder descendants evolved, adapted to new worlds, changed. What you see around you are humanity's children, 50,000 years removed from the source. But you. The crystal drifted closer to Iris. You are unchanged. Your DNA is identical to samples in our oldest records. You are what they were before they became what we are. Iris looked at the assembled beings with new eyes. The blue-scaled Dr. Worth. The insectoid creatures near the chamber's edge. The beings made of crystalline structures and flowing energy. All of them had started as human? She couldn't see it. As if reading her thoughts, one of the crystals displayed a hologram. It showed a progression of human forms, changing slowly over thousands of generations. Adapting to high-gravity worlds and becoming shorter, denser, evolving on water worlds and developing gills and webbed features, splitting into different subspecies on different planets until the original form was just a distant memory. "Risa," Iris said suddenly, turning to the commander. "You look human, like me." Risa's expression was carefully neutral. "I look closer to original than most," she admitted. "My ancestors settled a world with conditions similar to Earth. We changed less, but we still changed. My bone density is higher than yours. My eyes see into infrared. I can hold my breath for 30 minutes. I'm human, but I'm not what you are." A new voice interrupted from the observation area. "This is a fascinating history lesson, but it doesn't answer the critical questions." The speaker was an insectoid creature with iridescent wings and multiple limbs. He moved with the careful precision of someone used to being in charge. "I am Ambassador Dren, and what I want to know is why this woman appears now. Where has she been for 50,000 years? Why does she have no memory, and most importantly," he pointed one sharp limb at Iris, "how do we know this isn't an elaborate deception?" Dr. Worth bristled. "The genetic evidence is—" "Genetic evidence can be manufactured," Dren interrupted. "Perhaps not easily, but we're discussing a woman who claims to be from a world that may never have existed. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof." The archive crystals conferred silently, their lights pulsing in patterns. Finally, the warmest voiced one spoke. "Ambassador Dren raises valid concerns. We propose a deep memory scan. With Iris, Cole's permission, we can access her subconscious mind. Memories lost to trauma or suppression can often be recovered." Iris felt a chill. "You want to dig around in my brain?" "We want to help you remember," the crystal said gently. "And yes, we want to verify your story. You claim no memory of your origins. Let us see if those memories still exist, buried somewhere in your mind." She looked at Risa, who gave a slight nod. Not quite approval, but acknowledgement that the choice was hers. Dr. Worth looked worried but said nothing. "Will it hurt?" Iris asked. "You'll sleep," the crystal assured her. "And when you wake, we will all know the truth." What choice did she have? Iris agreed. They prepared her in a smaller chamber. The memory scan required her to float in a suspension field while the archive AI carefully mapped her neural pathways. Iris felt herself drifting, consciousness fading, and then green. Everywhere green. Trees taller than buildings. Sunlight filtering through leaves. Iris was running, her lungs burning, branches scratching her face. Behind her, she heard shouting. Explosions. The sky was full of ships, sleek and silver, fighting against something dark and organic-looking. Someone grabbed her arm. A man, young, terrified. "Iris, this way. We have to reach the transport." They ran together through the forest. Other people were running too, families clutching children, soldiers firing weapons at the sky. One of the dark ships swooped low, and Iris watched in horror as it released something that looked like black oil. Where it touched the ground, plants withered and died. "They found us," the man gasped. "After all this time, they found us. We should have stayed hidden." They burst from the forest onto a cleared field. A small ship waited, its engines already warming up. People were scrambling aboard. Someone at the hatch was waving frantically. "Hurry, we can't wait much longer." Iris ran harder than she'd ever run. The man beside her stumbled and she caught him, pulled him forward. They were going to make it. They were going to. Something struck the man. He went down hard, a smoking wound in his back. Iris screamed his name. She knew his name, in the dream she knew it, but it slipped away like water. Hands grabbed her from the ship's hatch, pulled her aboard. She fought them, trying to reach the fallen man, but the hatch was closing. Through the narrowing gap, she saw him lying in the grass, saw the sky full of burning ships, saw her world dying, then darkness, then a different memory. A small room, medical equipment, a woman in a white coat standing over a stasis pod. "You volunteered for this, Iris. You understand what we're asking of you?" Iris, A different Iris, one who had memories and context, nodded. You're sending me out blind. No memory, no identity. Just my genetics and a homing beacon in my DNA. If Earth falls, you and the others are our last hope. Someday someone will find you. The galaxy will know we existed, and maybe, if we survive, we can use you to find our way home. And if we don't survive? The woman's smile was sad. Then you'll wake up alone, wondering who you are. I'm sorry. It's the only way to keep the coordinates secret. Present Iris wanted to scream. Past Iris just nodded and climbed into the pod. She woke up gasping in the archive chamber. Every crystal was glowing bright, and the assembled observers were in chaos. Some were arguing, others were accessing data feeds, and Ambassador Dren was shouting something about security protocols. Risa helped Iris sit up. Easy. You've been under for 6 hours. What did you see? Iris managed. Everything you just experienced. The archive broadcast it to all of us. Risa's expression was strange, almost odd. Earth was attacked, some kind of enemy, something the records don't show. Your people sent out sleepers, agents with wiped memories, hoping the collective would eventually find one and trace it back. But where is Earth now? Iris demanded. Did we survive? The warmest crystal spoke softly. That, Iris Cole, is what we must discover. Your memories confirm your origin, but they also show us that Earth deliberately hid itself. The coordinates were erased not by corruption, but by choice. Earth went dark on purpose. To protect itself, Dr. Worth said quietly, or to protect everyone else from whatever was attacking it. Ambassador Dren had stopped shouting. He approached the platform, his insectoid features unreadable. This changes everything. If Earth still exists, if there's an enemy that could force the Founders to hide. He looked at Iris with something like fear. What else is out there that we don't know about? Iris stood on shaking legs. There were others, she said. In my memory, the doctor mentioned others. I'm not the only sleeper agent. There are more of us out there. Then we find them, Risa said firmly. We gather the pieces and we find Earth. But even as she said it, Iris felt a growing dread. Earth had hidden itself from the galaxy for 50,000 years. It had sent its children out like messages in bottles, hoping they'd be found. Which meant Earth had never expected to survive. And if it had survived, why hadn't it ever come back? Iris discovered that being the most important person in the galaxy meant never being alone. Guards followed her everywhere. Scientists wanted to study her. Politicians wanted to use her as a symbol for their various agendas. After 3 days on Unity Prime, she'd had enough. That's when she met Cal Brooks. He found her in the diplomatic quarters garden, staring up at the unfamiliar stars. He was tall and lean, with the kind of casual confidence that came from spending too much time in dangerous situations. His skin was darker than hers, and his hair was close-cropped. He looked almost purely original human, which was rare. Nice night for escaping, he said, leaning against a pillar. Iris didn't turn around. I'm not escaping. I'm breathing. Same thing when you're a prisoner. He walked over and held out a data chip. My name's Cal. I'm a pilot. A good one. And I've got a ship docked at Bay 47. Leaves in 2 hours with or without official clearance. Now she looked at him. Why are you telling me this? Because my family has been searching for Earth for 3 generations. We've followed dead ends and false leads across half the galaxy, and then you show up, the real thing, and they lock you in a tower like some fairy tale. He grinned. I'm betting you've got questions they're not answering. I'm betting you want to actually find Earth, not sit here while politicians debate what to do about it. You think I'd trust you just because you show up with a ship? No, but you trust her. Cal nodded toward the garden entrance. Risa walked in, dressed in plain clothes instead of her uniform. She looked tired. He's telling the truth about the ship, she said, and about his family. The Brooks line has been obsessed with Earth mythology for a long time. They're treasure hunters mostly, but legitimate ones. Treasure hunter? Iris raised an eyebrow. Cal shrugged. Everyone thinks Earth has some kind of ancient technology vault. Ultimate weapons, immortality drugs, the usual legends. I'm not saying it's not true, but mostly I just want to see if it's real. If humanity actually came from one place. And you? Iris asked Risa. Why would you help me leave? Risa sat down on a bench, choosing her words carefully. The official investigation is compromised. Too many factions want to control what happens next. Some want to claim Earth's technology. Some want to suppress its existence because it challenges their power. Some want to weaponize you. She met Iris's eyes. I want the truth. I think you deserve the truth. And I think we're more likely to find it if we're not tangled in collective bureaucracy. Who else is coming? Iris asked. Small team. You, me, Cal, and Dr. Worth if we can convince him. Maybe a few others. People we can trust. Risa pulled out her own data chip. I've been pulling strings, calling in favors. I've got access to ancient survey data, archaeological site reports, anything that might lead us to Earth. It's not much, but it's more than the official channels are sharing. Iris thought about it. She'd been having more dreams since the memory scan. Fragments of a life she couldn't quite grasp. A blue world, oceans, cities of glass and steel, and something else, something darker. A sense of urgency, of danger. Whatever had attacked Earth might still be out there. When do we leave? She asked. Cal's grin widened. Knew you'd say yes. 2 hours. Pack light. Getting Dr. Worth to join them took more convincing. He was a cautious being by nature, and abandoning an official investigation went against every professional instinct he had. But in the end, scientific curiosity won. The chance to see Earth, to understand the origin of all the collective's peoples, was too much to resist. They left Unity Prime and Cal's ship, the Wayfinder, using Risa's security clearance to avoid too many questions. By the time anyone realized they were gone, they'd be 3 jumps away. The Wayfinder was smaller than Iris expected, but well-maintained. Cal clearly loved his ship. The cockpit had that lived-in feel of a place that was really a home. As they jumped to faster-than-light travel, Cal explained their first destination. There's an archaeological site on a world called Anchor Point. It's a dead planet now, but it used to be one of the first founder colonies. The dig team found something 6 months ago, then suddenly went quiet. The collective sealed the site. He brought up a star map. If Earth deliberately erased its coordinates, maybe the colonies have clues the homeworld left behind. The journey took 4 days. Iris spent the time learning about the galaxy she'd woken up to. Dr. Worth tutored her in galactic history, explaining how the collective worked, how humanity's descendants had evolved and spread. Risa taught her basic combat skills, insisting that things might get dangerous. Cal just told stories, wild tales of exploration and close calls that Iris suspected were only half true. On the 4th day, they arrived at Anchor Point. The planet was gray and lifeless, its atmosphere long since stripped away. They landed near the archaeological site in environmental suits, their boots leaving prints in ancient dust. The dig site itself was a series of prefab structures surrounding a massive excavation pit. Place is abandoned, Cal observed, scanning for life signs. But recently, equipment still powered on. They descended into the excavation. What they found took Iris's breath away. It was a building, or the remains of one, but the architecture was hauntingly familiar. Arches and pillars, clean lines, and geometric precision. She'd seen buildings like this in her fragmented dreams. This was human construction, original human from before the diaspora. Dr. Worth examined the walls with his scanner. Incredible. These materials shouldn't have survived 50,000 years, but they're almost pristine. Some kind of preservation field. They moved deeper into the structure. Rooms opened off the main corridor, empty except for dust. But at the end of the passage, they found something different. A chamber with a single pedestal in its center. And on that pedestal, a smooth sphere of dark metal. Iris approached it slowly. Something about the sphere called to her. Careful, Risa warned. We don't know what it is. But Iris was already reaching out. The moment her fingers touched the sphere, it activated. Light flooded the chamber and a holographic display erupted around them. Star maps, thousands of them. Routes through space marked with symbols Iris somehow understood. It's a navigation beacon, she breathed. The founders left markers for their colonies. Ways to find their way home. The map rotated, highlighting a route through a region of space Iris didn't recognize. Text appeared in a language that no one had seen in millennia, but the translation systems in their suits worked perfectly. To those who remain true to the origin, follow these stars home. But beware, we sealed the path for a reason. A chill ran down Iris's spine. What reason? The hologram shifted, showing new images. Ships, massive ships, organic and wrong-looking. The same ships from her memories of Earth's attack. They were consuming a planet, breaking it apart and absorbing its matter. Dr. Worth's scales had gone pale.
What are those?
The swarm, Iris whispered. The word came from somewhere deep in her memory. They came from another galaxy. They were dying, starving. They consumed everything in their path. Earth fought them. Earth, she struggled to remember. Earth found a way to hide, but they couldn't risk leading the swarm to the colonies. So they erased the path home. The hologram flickered and died. The sphere went dark in her hands. But the star root remained burned in her memory. She knew the way. Not all of it, but the first few steps. We need to go, Rissa said suddenly. Her weapon was drawn, aimed at the chamber entrance. Now, they heard it then, footsteps, lots of them. Voices echoing down the corridor. Cal checked his scanner and cursed. Collective troops. A lot of them. Someone tracked us, they ran. Back through the ancient building, up to the surface, sprinting for the Wayfinder. Behind them, soldiers poured from dropships, armed and armored. Someone was shouting commands over loudspeakers, demanding they stop. The Wayfinder's engines were already hot. Cal had left them running, paranoid as always. They sealed the hatch and lifted off as energy weapons scorched the hull. Cal punched the engines, and they shot up through the thin atmosphere. Pursuit craft launching, Risa reported from the weapons station. 6 fighters. Maybe more. Space around Anchor Point lit up with weapons fire. Cal flew like he was born to it, weaving between shots, pushing the Wayfinder to its limits. Dr. Worth clung to his seat, making small, distressed sounds. An enemy shot clipped their shield. Warning lights flashed across the cockpit. Cal gritted his teeth and aimed for a nearby asteroid field. Hold on. This is going to get rough. They plunged into the asteroids with 6 fighters on their tail. Cal dodged and turned, using the rocks as cover. One pursuer got too close to an asteroid and exploded in silence. Another lost them in the chaos and veered off, but 4 remained and they were getting closer. Then space itself seemed to ripple. A massive ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly ahead of them. But it wasn't collective. It was old, ancient even, bristling with weapons that predated modern design. A woman's voice came through the communication system. Wayfinder, this is the vessel guardian. We've been watching you. Cut your engines. We're bringing you aboard, Cal looked at Iris. Your call. She thought about the hologram's warning, about the sealed path, about how her people had hidden themselves for 50,000 years, and she thought about that voice, which sounded human in a way that none of the collective's evolved descendants quite managed. Do it, she said. The Wayfinder's engines died. A tractor beam locked onto them, pulling them toward the ancient ship. The collective fighters tried to follow, but the Guardian's weapon systems came online. Warning shots, precise and controlled, drove them back. As the Wayfinder slid into the Guardian's docking bay, Iris saw people waiting. People who looked like her. Original human. Unchanged. I think, she said softly, we just found the first breadcrumb home. The Guardian's interior looked like it had been maintained for millennia. Clean corridors stretched in geometric precision, lit by panels that glowed with steady light. But there were signs of age too, repairs made with slightly different materials, sections where the walls had been reinforced or replaced. This ship was old but loved, kept alive by people who refused to let it die. A woman waited for them in the docking bay. She was perhaps 50, with gray in her dark hair and lines around her eyes that spoke of years spent watching screens and worrying. She wore a simple uniform without insignia, and she studied Iris with an intensity that was almost uncomfortable. My name is Helen Ward, she said. I'm the captain of this vessel, and you're Iris Cole, the sleeper who woke up. Iris nodded slowly. Behind her, Cal, Rissa, and Dr. Worth had their hands near their weapons, ready but not threatening. The Guardian's crew, all of them looking purely human, watched with similar caution. You know what I am, Iris said. It wasn't a question. We know what you were supposed to be, Helen replied. A message in a bottle, a beacon for the descendants to follow home. But you woke up too early, before the defensive network could be properly dismantled. She gestured down the corridor. Come, we have much to discuss and very little time. The collective fleet that followed you here won't give up easily. They followed Helen through the ship. Dr. Worth was fascinated by everything, his scanner working overtime to record the technology around them. The Guardian systems were different from collective standard, older but in some ways more advanced. Or perhaps just more specialized. Helen led them to a conference room with a large viewport showing the asteroid field outside. As they sat, crew members brought food and water. The food looked strange to Iris's eyes but smelled right somehow, familiar in a way she couldn't explain. "I have questions," Iris began. "I imagine you have thousands," Helen said. "Let me answer the obvious ones first. Yes, we're from Earth, or our ancestors were. We're what you might call a sleeper colony, descendants of people who left Earth during the crisis. Our mission has always been to guard the approaches to Earth, to watch for anyone who might find their way through. When we detected you touching the navigation beacon on Anchor Point, we came immediately." "How many sleeper colonies are there?" Risa asked. 7 that we know of. Maybe more. We lost contact with some during the early years. The swarm made long-range communication too dangerous." Helen pulled up a holographic map. "Each colony guards a different approach to Earth space. We're scattered across the galaxy, hidden in plain sight, keeping watch." Cal leaned forward. "So Earth still exists. It's really out there." "It exists." Helen's expression was complicated, but it's not what you imagine. Earth didn't just hide, it fundamentally changed the rules of where it exists. The technology required, she shook her head. "We'll explain when you see it." "If you see it." "What do you mean, if?" Iris demanded. Helen looked at her seriously. "You're not the only thing the navigation beacon's activated. Every time someone accesses one, it sends a signal. Not just to us, to them." The room went cold. Dr. Worth's scales rippled with fear. "The swarm? They're not what the old record said." "Not entirely." Helen brought up new images. The organic ships from Iris's memories, but different somehow. Changed. The swarm was dying, yes. Their galaxy had collapsed, resources exhausted. They came here seeking survival. But they weren't mindless. They were desperate. Earth fought them for years. We killed billions of them. They killed billions of us. In the end, Earth found a solution that wasn't genocide, but it required sacrifice. It required us to disappear. "What kind of solution?" Risa asked. Helen hesitated. "I think it's better if you hear it from Earth itself. The question is whether we can get you there safely. The route you saw in the beacon is only the first stage. The rest of the path requires passing through what we call the quarantine zone. Automated defenses, spatial anomalies, and yes, swarm scouts that still patrol the borders. They're waiting for Earth to reveal itself." Iris felt frustration building. "You're telling me I'm from Earth, that I was sent out as some kind of homing signal, but you won't take me home?" "I'm telling you that going home might kill you," Helen said bluntly. "And everyone on the ship, and potentially reveal Earth's location to forces that would destroy it. So yes, I'm cautious," Cal spoke up. "But she's not the only sleeper, right? The doctor said there were others. Why activate them at all if bringing them home is so dangerous?" "Because the plan is 50,000 years old," Helen said wearily. "Because whoever designed it expected Earth to have won by now, or died trying. They never imagined we'd still be hiding after all this time. The sleepers were supposed to wake up in a safe galaxy and lead the descendants home for a grand reunion. Instead," she gestured at Iris, "instead, you wake up in the middle of a Cold War that never ended." A crew member rushed into the conference room. "Captain, collective fleet incoming. 20 ships. They're demanding we surrender the fugitives." Helen stood. "Battle stations. Prepare for jump." She looked at Iris and her companions. "You need to make a choice right now. We can fight them, but that reveals us. Or we can run, and I mean really run, into the quarantine zone. If we do that, there's no turning back. You'll either reach Earth or die trying." Iris looked at her friends. Dr. Worth was terrified but nodded. He'd come this far. Cal grinned like this was the best day of his life. Risa just checked her weapon and shrugged. "I didn't come this far to turn back now." "Take us in," Iris told Helen. The Guardian's engines hummed to life. Through the viewport, Iris saw the collective fleet approaching, weapons charging. But the Guardian wasn't fleeing toward open space. It was heading deeper into the asteroid field, toward a region where the asteroids orbited in strange patterns, where space itself looked wrong somehow. Helen stood at the helm, her hands dancing over controls. The quarantine zone isn't just a place. It's a piece of space that was deliberately broken. Folded and sealed. Earth is on the other side, existing in a dimensional pocket. The only way through is to know the path, and even then, the automated defenses will challenge us. They plunged into the warped space. Reality twisted around them. Through the viewport, Iris saw asteroids that existed in multiple places at once, stars that burned with impossible colors. The collective fleet tried to follow, but their ships weren't designed for this. One vanished entirely, jumped to a random location light years away by malfunctioning navigation systems. Others turned back, their crews refusing to go further. But something else noticed them. Shapes emerged from behind shattered moons, ships organic and ancient, their hulls pulsing with dim bioluminescence. The swarm scouts. "Defensive fire!" Helen ordered. "Don't let them get close." The Guardians' weapons were unlike anything in the collective arsenal. Beams of pure energy, missiles that bent space itself, shields that phased in and out of reality. The ship had been built for one purpose, surviving the journey to Earth. One swarm scout got close enough to launch something. Not a weapon, but a probe. It latched onto the Guardian's hull and began scanning. Rissa ran to the weapon station and tried to target it, but Helen stopped her. "Don't, they're not attacking." "They're checking." "Checking what?" Iris asked. Helen met her eyes. "Checking if we're from Earth. Their truce with humanity included terms. Earth's ships are allowed to pass. All others are turned back or destroyed." The probe finished its scan and detached. The swarm scouts backed away, opening a path deeper into the zone. They weren't attacking. They were escorting. Dr. Worth's voice was barely a whisper. "You made peace with them." "Earth made peace," Helen corrected. "We just honor it." The swarm stopped expanding. Earth gave them worlds to rebuild on, resources to survive. In exchange, they guard the approaches to Earth space. They make sure no one finds us who shouldn't. They traveled deeper into broken space. Time felt wrong here. Sometimes flowing too fast, sometimes too slow. Iris saw impossible things through the viewport. Planets that phased in and out of existence. Nebulae that formed geometric shapes. Space stations that looked human but had been abandoned for millennia. These were the border defenses, Helen explained. During the war, we built fortifications, weapons platforms, entire fleets. Most are still here, still functional. If Earth ever calls them, they'll activate. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. It was hard to tell. Finally, they emerged from the worst of the spatial distortions. And there, on the ship's sensors, appeared a star system. A yellow star, 8 planets. The third one blue and green with a single large moon. Iris felt tears on her face without realizing she was crying. She knew this system. Deep in her bones, in the recovered memories and the dreams, she knew it. "Earth," Helen said softly. "Welcome home." But as they approached, something else appeared on the sensors. More ships, hundreds of them, emerging from stations that orbited the outer planets. Earth's defense fleet called to intercept the intruders. A voice crackled through the communication system, speaking in a language that Iris understood perfectly, the same language from the beacon. "Unknown vessel, Guardian, this is Earth Defense Command. You have entered protected space. Transmit identification codes immediately or be destroyed. You have 30 seconds to comply." Helen transmitted a series of codes, ancient and carefully preserved. The weapons locks on the Guardian went from red to yellow on the tactical display. Partially stood down, but still ready. The voice spoke again, different now, curious. "Codes accepted. Guardian, you're showing a genetic signature that matches sleeper protocols. Is this?" Helen glanced at Iris, who stepped forward to the communication station. Her voice shook as she spoke. "This is Iris Cole, Sleeper Agent 773. I'm requesting permission to come home." Silence. Long enough that Iris thought they'd been rejected. Then the voice came back, and there was wonder in it. "Iris Cole, your mission file says you've been gone for 217 years. Welcome home. Approach clearance granted," and a pause. "Earth has been waiting for you." Earth looked smaller than Iris expected. More fragile. From orbit, she could see the continents she'd glimpsed in dreams. The oceans that covered most of the surface. The white caps of ice at the poles. But there were differences, too. The cities glowed with lights, but not as many as she somehow expected. The orbital stations were massive and numerous, but they had a defensive quality to them. Weapons bristling from every surface. This was a world that had survived by being prepared for anything. They landed at a facility near what Iris's recovered memories identified as the North American continent. The journey from orbit was quiet, everyone lost in their own thoughts. Even Cal seemed subdued, looking out at the planet with something like reverence. A delegation waited for them at the landing pad. All human, all original strain like Iris, wearing simple uniforms marked with a symbol Iris recognized from her dreams. A blue circle representing Earth, surrounded by 7 stars for the colonies that had fled. The woman leading the delegation was perhaps 60, with silver hair and dark skin. She wore the bearing of someone used to command but approached them with warmth rather than authority. "I'm Director Sarah Kim of the Earth Council," she said, offering her hand to Iris in an ancient gesture of peace. "On behalf of Earth and all its people, welcome home. We never stopped hoping one of our sleepers would return." Iris took her hand, feeling the solid reality of it. Real. She was really here. "Director, these are my companions, Cal Brooks, Commander Risa Hale, and Dr. Olin Worth. They helped me find my way home." Sarah's expression shifted as she looked at the others. A pilot from a founder-descendant line, a collective security officer, and a scientist from the evolved populations. "You've brought guests, Iris. That's unprecedented." "They deserve to be here," Iris said firmly. "They risked everything to help me." Sarah nodded slowly. "Then they're welcome. Come, we have much to discuss. And I imagine you have more questions than we can possibly answer in one meeting." They were taken to a building that looked like it had been there for centuries, all stone and glass with gardens growing around it. Inside, the walls displayed images of Earth's history. Iris saw ancient cities she recognized from recovered memories, space launches, the first colonies, and then the war. Images of the swarm, of battles in space and on the ground, of devastation and desperate last stands. But there were also images of peace, meetings between humans and swarm representatives, construction projects where both species worked side by side, a treaty signing aboard a neutral station. Dr. Worth was studying the images with intense focus. "You really made peace with them." "We had no choice," Sarah said. "They were dying. We were dying. The war was destroying both our species. Someone had to be brave enough to talk instead of shoot." She led them to a conference room with a view of the ocean beyond. "But I get ahead of myself. First, Iris, you need to know what happened to you, what we asked of you." Iris sat down, her friends beside her. Sarah brought up a holographic display showing files marked with Iris's name and identification number. 217 years ago, Earth was in crisis. The swarm war had reached a stalemate. We'd developed the dimensional pocket technology, the ability to shift Earth out of normal space-time. But we couldn't do it all at once. We needed time. And we needed to ensure that someday, when it was safe, the galaxy's peoples could find us again. Our descendants deserved to know their origins. Sarah's expression grew sad. So we created the Sleeper Program. 500 volunteers, men and women who agreed to have their memories suppressed, to be placed in stasis and sent out into the galaxy with nothing but their genetics to identify them. You were one of those volunteers. You were placed in a ship programmed to fail near a populated region, where you'd be found and identified. Iris felt the weight of those words. She'd volunteered for this. She'd chosen to forget everything, to become a mystery for others to solve. Why suppress our memories? Why not just send us out as ambassadors? Because the swarm had developed telepathic species among their collective. Any ambassador with knowledge of Earth's location could be captured, and that knowledge extracted. The only safe carrier of Earth's coordinates was someone who didn't know them. Sarah paused. "We embedded the path home in your DNA itself, in genetic markers that would only activate when scanned by advanced collective technology. You were the map, Iris, you just didn't know it." Risa spoke up. "But the navigation beacons on the colony worlds, those showed the path too." "A backup system," Sarah admitted, "in case none of the sleepers were ever found. But those beacons also alert the swarm when activated. They were supposed to be a last resort. The fact that you had to use one means something went wrong with the plan." "What went wrong?" Helen Ward said from the doorway, entering the room with several other sleeper colony representatives, "is that we expected the galaxy to evolve. We thought 50,000 years would be enough for the collective to develop technology and wisdom to handle the truth. But they're still fighting among themselves, still struggling for power, still not ready to understand what Earth learned." Sarah nodded. "Which brings us to the current crisis. Iris, when you were found, when the collective scanned you, you didn't just reveal your genetics. You activated protocols we embedded in their great archive 50,000 years ago. The archive was originally our creation, maintained by AIs we designed. Over millennia, the collective's peoples forgot that. They think it's always existed, but it remembers us. And when it found you, it began broadcasting a signal. Iris felt dread growing. Broadcasting where? Everywhere. To every connected system in the galaxy. The message is simple. Earth found. Return home. Sarah looked out at the ocean. Every human in the galaxy, every descendant of the founders, every being with even a trace of Earth DNA in their lineage received that call at a subconscious level. They might not understand what they're feeling, but they're feeling it. The urge to search, to discover, to come home. Cal whistled low. That's going to cause chaos. Half the collective has founder DNA. It's already causing chaos, Helen said grimly. Before we left collective space, we monitored their communications. Governments are falling. People are abandoning their posts to search for Earth. Ships are flooding into border regions trying to find the path. She looked at Iris. You didn't just solve a mystery. You started a migration. Billions of beings are going to try to find their way here. Dr. Worth's scales had gone pale, but the defenses, the quarantine zone, most ships can't survive that passage. Exactly, Sarah said quietly. We estimate millions will die trying to reach us. The swarm will defend the borders as agreed, but they can't stop everyone. Some will get through. Some will die in the attempt, and eventually, the secret will spread too far. Other species, non-human ones, will learn Earth's location. We'll have visitors who aren't family. Some friendly. Some not. Iris stood, anger rising. So what was the point? Why send us out at all if finding Earth was going to cause this much damage? Because, Sarah said, meeting her gaze steadily, we were supposed to be ready. The plan was to wait until the galaxy was stable, until the collective was mature enough to handle the truth, and then we'd reveal ourselves deliberately and carefully. But you woke up early. Your ship malfunctioned. You were found before we intended. She gestured at the holographic timeline. You were supposed to wake up in another 500 years. By then, we expected the collective to have achieved technological parity with Earth. We expected the swarm to have fully integrated into galactic society. We expected peace. Her expression was bitter. We didn't expect to still be hiding like frightened children after 50,000 years. Iris felt the weight of it. She'd broken the plan just by existing at the wrong time. Then what do we do now? Before Sarah could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. A technician rushed into the conference room. Director, we have multiple breaches in the quarantine zone. Ships are forcing their way through. Hundreds of them. The swarm reports they're being overwhelmed. Sarah's face went hard. How long until they reach Earth space? At current rates, less than a day. Everyone looked at Iris. She felt the weight of their stares, the unspoken accusation. This was happening because she'd been found, because she'd led people here, deliberately or not. Cal broke the tension. So we prepare for visitors. Show them that Earth is real, that it's welcoming, that they don't need to fight their way in. And the ones who come with bad intentions? Risa asked. The treasure hunters? The government's trying to claim Earth's technology? Sarah straightened her shoulders. Then we remind the galaxy why Earth was the founder species in the first place. Not because we had better weapons, but because we learned something they've forgotten. She looked at each of them in turn. We learned that survival isn't about hiding or dominating. It's about extending a hand even to your enemies, even to those who want to destroy you. The swarm taught us that. She activated another display, this one showing deep space beyond the quarantine zone. Something was moving there, something vast. Iris recognized the biomechanical shapes from her memories, but these were different. Evolved, beautiful in their alien way. The swarm's main fleet is approaching. Not to attack. To help manage the incoming ships. We had a treaty. But that was for a hidden Earth, a secret to be kept. Now Earth is found. Now we need a new treaty. One that includes the collective. One that brings everyone to the table. Sarah looked at Iris with an expression of grim determination. You wanted to know why we sent sleepers out? This is why. Not to be maps, but to be bridges. You brought the collective to us, Iris. Now help us build something better than what existed before. Through the window, Iris could see ships beginning to appear in orbit. Some were orderly, following Earth defense guidance. Others were clearly struggling, damaged from the passage through broken space. And in the distance, the swarm fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel, massive and ancient and more numerous than the stars. The galaxy had found Earth, and nothing would ever be the same. The sky above Earth had never been so full. Ships from 1,000 worlds crowded the orbital space. Everything from massive colony transports to tiny personal craft that barely survived the journey. Earth Defense Command was working around the clock to organize the chaos, assigning landing zones and coordinating supplies. Some arrivals were peaceful, awestruck at finding the legendary homeworld. Others were demanding, threatening, claiming rights to Earth's technology or territory. And beyond them all, the swarm fleet maintained a careful perimeter, neither threatening nor welcoming. Just waiting. Iris stood in the Earth Council chamber, looking at faces from across the galaxy via holographic projection. Representatives from the collective's member worlds, all demanding answers, all frightened and angry and confused. Ambassador Dren was there, his insectoid features somehow managing to convey deep suspicion. Professor Miradane looked exhausted but fascinated, and behind them dozens more representing species and governments and factions. Director Sarah Kim addressed them all. Members of the collective, for 50,000 years you have lived without Earth. You have evolved, grown, built civilizations that span the galaxy. You have done this without us, and you should be proud. But now Earth has returned to the galactic community, not to conquer, not to reclaim what was lost, but to propose something new, something unprecedented. A representative from a water world spoke, his translated voice gurgling. You hide for 50,000 years while we struggle and fight and die, and now you expect us to welcome you? You abandoned us. We protected you, Helen Ward said firmly. She stood beside Sarah representing the sleeper colonies. The swarm war would have consumed the entire galaxy. Earth drew them here, fought them here, and ended the threat here. Your ancestors survived because we kept the war away from them. And the swarm? Dren demanded. They're here now, surrounding your world. You claim you made peace, but how do we know this isn't a trap? How do we know you haven't allied with our enemy? Before Sarah could respond, a new hologram appeared in the chamber. Not human, not any known species. It was something like a jellyfish, translucent and glowing, but with intelligence in its multiple eyes. When it spoke, the sound was like music translated into language. I am speaker for the swarm. I was not born when our peoples fought. I have only histories, memories of desperation and dying worlds. But I also have new memories of peace, of cooperation, of humans who offered us survival when they could have chosen genocide. The swarm speaker pulsed with different colors. Earth did not defeat us with weapons. They defeated us with compassion. They gave us worlds to rebuild on. They shared technology to help us recover. In return, we guard their borders and await the day when both our peoples can rejoin the galaxy without fear. The chamber erupted in argument. Half the representatives were shouting about trusting ancient enemies. The other half were demanding proof of this peace treaty. Iris watched the chaos and realized this was the moment. The reason she'd been sent out. Not just to lead people home, but to show them what Earth had learned. She stepped forward, and somehow her movement caught everyone's attention. The chamber fell silent. My name is Iris Cole. I was born on Earth 217 years ago. I volunteered to forget everything I knew, to be placed in a stasis pod and sent out into space, hoping someone would find me. And you did. The collective found me, scanned me, and reacted with wonder because I proved Earth was real. She looked at each holographic face. But I'm not here to prove Earth exists. You already know that. I'm here to ask you a question. What do you want to happen next? Ambassador Dren spoke. We want guarantees. We want to know Earth won't use its advanced technology to dominate us. You want power, Iris interrupted. You want control. You want Earth to fit into the systems and hierarchies you've built. But that's not going to happen. Earth isn't rejoining the collective as another member world. Earth is offering something different. Sarah nodded and brought up a new holographic display, a map of the galaxy with Earth at the center. For 50,000 years, the collective has operated on a principle of mutual benefit and shared governance. It's worked reasonably well, but it's also led to stagnation, to border conflicts, to species competing rather than cooperating. We propose an expansion of the collective, not in territory but in purpose. She highlighted regions of space beyond the current borders. There are galaxies beyond ours, resources that no one is using, worlds that could support life with proper preparation. The swarm came from one of those galaxies, fleeing collapse and starvation. We welcomed them instead of destroying them. Now we propose that the collective do the same, not just for the swarm, but for any species we encounter. We become explorers again, builders again. We stop fighting over what exists and start creating something new. Dr. Worth, who had been quiet until now, spoke up from where he stood with Iris. The collective's technology has plateaued because we've been comfortable. Earth offers knowledge, yes, but more importantly, Earth offers a challenge. Work with us. Work with the swarm. Go beyond our galaxy and see what's out there. Grow again. Professor Mira's hologram leaned forward. You're proposing a new age of expansion. But what about those who don't want to explore? What about worlds that are content as they are? Then they remain content, Sarah said simply. This isn't a mandate. It's an invitation. Earth will share its technology freely with anyone who wants to join this effort. The swarm will contribute their biological engineering expertise. The collective worlds will contribute their diverse knowledge and populations. Together we could build something that spans multiple galaxies. Or you could return home and pretend Earth was never found. The choice is yours. The chamber fell quiet again. Representatives conferred with their governments. Iris could see them struggling with the decision. Some wanted to reject Earth's offer out of pride or fear. Others were clearly intrigued. Then something unexpected happened. Rissa Hale stepped forward. I'm Commander Rissa Hale. I'm from a world that evolved from founder stock but kept closer to the original genetic pattern. I spent my career in collective security, defending the status quo. But I helped Iris reach Earth because I wanted to know the truth. Now I know it. And the truth is that we've been living small for 50,000 years. We've been so focused on maintaining what we have that we forgot how to dream big. She looked at the assembled representatives. I'm joining Earth's initiative. I'm going to be part of the next exploration wave. Anyone who wants to come with me is welcome. Cal grinned. Hell, I'm in too. I came looking for treasure and found something better. Purpose. One by one, other voices joined. Not all of them. Many representatives were still skeptical or openly hostile. But enough were intrigued. Enough were inspired. Enough were willing to try something new. The swarm speaker pulsed with what might have been approval. The swarm will contribute vessels and expertise. We owe Earth a debt that cannot be repaid. Perhaps this is a beginning. Ambassador Dren was quiet for a long moment. Finally he spoke. I still have concerns. Many concerns. But I also recognize an opportunity when I see one. My government will send observers to this initiative. We will evaluate. We will decide. He looked at Iris directly. You have disrupted our entire civilization by existing. The least you can do is prove it was worth it. Iris smiled slightly. That's what I'm trying to do. The meeting continued for hours. Details were negotiated, agreements drafted, concerns addressed. Not everyone agreed to join. Several major collective worlds rejected the proposal outright, declaring they would maintain their independence and their borders. Earth accepted this peacefully, promising that no one would be forced to participate. But others committed. Smaller worlds, younger civilizations, species that had been marginalized in the current collective structure. They saw Earth's offer as a chance to be part of something greater. Within a week, hundreds of ships had pledged to the initiative. Within a month, the first joint human swarm collective exploration mission was being planned. 6 months after Iris had woken up in that medical bay, she stood on Earth's surface at a launch facility, watching the construction of new ships. These weren't military vessels. They were exploration ships, colony ships, research vessels designed to push beyond known space and discover what lay beyond. Cal was already aboard one, preparing for launch. Dr. Worth had joined Earth's scientific community, working on bridging the knowledge gap between Earth and collective technology. Helen Ward had returned to her sleeper colony, but she visited often, bringing news of other colonies that were emerging from hiding. Rissa stood beside Iris, looking up at the ships. Never thought I'd see something like this. Different species working together without anyone forcing them to. No treaties, no governments mandating cooperation, just people who want to build something. That's what humans do best, Iris said. We bring people together, even when those people are from different worlds. Different species, different galaxies. Sarah Kim approached carrying a data pad. The archive just sent an update. They've officially logged Earth's status as found and active. They've also logged this era with a designation. She showed Iris the screen. Earth status found. Era designation, the reunion. Archive entry complete. The reunion. Iris said softly. I like that, Sarah smiled. It's accurate. We're reuniting with our descendants, with the swarm, with the galaxy we left behind, and we're reuniting with our purpose. Humanity's real strength was never technology. It was never weapons. It was our ability to look at someone completely different from us and say, let's work together. An alert sounded from the launch facility. The first exploration ship was ready for departure. Iris could see Cal through the viewport waving at her. She waved back. Are you going with them? Risa asked. Iris shook her head. Not this time. I've done my exploring. I found what I was looking for. She looked at the earth around her, the blue sky and green grass and familiar gravity. I'm home, and now I get to watch everyone else come home too. Then maybe we'll all go out together and see what else is out there. She thought about the scared woman who woke up in that medical bay, alone and confused. She thought about the journey through the quarantine zone, the discovery of Earth's survival, the moment she realized she'd been part of something bigger than herself. The sleeper program had worked, just not the way anyone planned. She hadn't led the collective back to a lost world. She'd led them to a new beginning, a reminder that humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't technology or military might. It was the simple, stubborn belief that working together was better than fighting alone. Above Earth, the ships began to move, some heading out to explore new territories, others coming in, carrying more descendants home. The swarm fleet maintained its watch, no longer guards but partners. And somewhere in the council chamber, representatives from 100 worlds were planning the next phase of expansion, the next great project, the next impossible dream. Iris smiled. She'd been sent out as a message in a bottle, a genetic map to lead people home. Instead, she'd become a bridge, and that bridge was now carrying traffic in both directions, bringing people together in ways no one had imagined. Earth had been found, but more importantly, humanity had been reunited, not just with its descendants, but with its purpose. To explore, to build, to bring others along instead of leaving them behind. And that, Iris thought as she watched the ships rise into the sky, was the best treasure anyone could have discovered.